Ding dong, the streak is dead. Memphis Grizzlies losing skid ends at 8 games, knocking off the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to break down exactly how Memphis did it, plus give you a rundown of who you should be keeping an eye on as the NCAA tournament gets underway. It's Locked On Grizzlies. Let's lock in.
You are Locked On Grizzlies, your daily Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Grizzlies. It is I, Joe Mullinax, your host for this edition of the show. No to Michael Cole, Memphis Grizzlies beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, my co-host, not able to join us. It's going to be you and I talking Grizzlies basketball for the next 30 or so minutes. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. As proud members of the #1 sports podcast network out there, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every single day. Like, comment, rate, review, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Google, literally anywhere you get a podcast, you can get Locked On Grizzlies. Make myself and Michael Cole part of your NBA and Memphis Grizzlies content consumption each and every time that an episode drops. Breathe it in, Memphis Grizzlies fans. We haven't been able to say this for a minute. I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to bask in the glow because you know the sun shines a little bit more brightly on days like today. The moonlight, if you're checking out the show late at night, early in the morning, whatever the case might be, it feels just a little bit more subtle and smooth on the skin. You have to enjoy moments like this one because they're few and far between in Memphis for the Grizzlies these days. A victory for the Memphis Grizzlies. And yes, no one is more keenly aware than I, dear listener, dear viewer, that the team's trying to lose and they should try to lose. They're the ping pong balls and they're going to have fewer ping pong balls. Shut up for one day. For one moment, for 1 second, I'm sorry, I was very aggressive. I apologize. I love you, dear listener, dear viewer, but kindly shut up. We're going to enjoy this win. I'm going to enjoy this win because the city of Memphis and the Grizzlies at large needed a win. And we're going to talk more about that later on in the program. Victory is sweet. Tastes a little better, like a delicious 5 Hour Energy shot in this moment because the Grizzlies needed a W, and they got one. And they got it in part because of Ty Jerome. You knew if you watched that game, I was going to lead off with my boy, Wahoo Wah, UVA stand-up, Ty Jerome. He is very much the #1 reason to watch the Memphis Grizzlies right now. When he is on the court, the team has a chance to compete. Notice that I didn't say chance to win. You can certainly chalk up the Grizzlies knocking off the Denver Nuggets, picking up their first win in 9 tries, 8-game losing streak snapped. Denver didn't fly in and land in Memphis until like 4 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday after playing the night before. A nightmare travel situation for the Nuggets. You could certainly say that played a major role in the Grizzlies having a little bit more energy about them in their home contest against Denver and Nikola Jokic. But again, we're going to enjoy this, right? We're going to put context off to the side for a moment, and we're going to say, Ty Jerome, you, sir, were the best player on the floor in a game that involved Nikola Jokic. And I'm well aware that Nikola Jokic got his numbers, triple-double-esque, but basically a quadruple-double if you include the double-digit turnovers that Nikola Jokic had in the contest. We'll talk more about that here in a moment. But Ty Jerome, it is really hard for me to believe that if this Memphis Grizzlies team was healthy, and I realize they never were and we'll never know, but imagine Zach Edey, imagine Jaren Jackson Jr., imagine John Morant, imagine the actual Memphis Grizzlies that were supposed to be logging these minutes that have played not very much this season. Imagine if those guys played alongside this type of Ty Jerome. It's hard for me to imagine that the Memphis Grizzlies are not a top 6 team in the Western Conference the way that this season is shaken out. Obviously, that is not how things have occurred. We are talking about 8-game losing streaks being snapped. The Grizzlies are not in the postseason conversation this year. But Ty Jerome, again, we've talked about it here on the show. If Memphis decides to go in a direction that is not the point guard position with that lottery pick they're about to have, Ty Jerome is a bridge next year. I'm not mad at the idea. I think he's earned that capability, or he's earned the ability to get traded for future draft compensation this offseason because he's really good and teams are going to want to have him on their roster. Either of those outcomes at this point are understandable given the current state of play for the Memphis Grizzlies. But shout out to Ty Jerome. And shout out to Taylor Hendricks. I got to tell you, this guy has improved and impressed almost every single time that he has taken the court. In this 125-118 victory for the Memphis Grizzlies, Hendricks' shooting numbers are not what's going to jump out at you. 6 for 18. He took 18 shots more than any other Grizzly. 1 for 10 from 3. 1 for 10. For those of you that aren't math majors, that's a 10% three-point percentage for the contest. That's really bad, as the analysts say. But you know what was really good for Taylor Hendricks in this game on a night where he did not have his shooting stroke? 9, count them, 9 stocks, 6 steals, 3 blocks. I mentioned a moment ago how Nikola Jokic, not his best performance, didn't get his triple-double unless you count turnovers. He had 9 assists, but 10 turnovers, and a lot of those turnovers came for Jokic while one Taylor Hendricks was near or around him as the primary defender. His energy was tremendous on that end. He created opportunities, got the Grizzlies out in transition, and kudos to the Grizzlies play-by-play and color commentary staff, Pete Pranica, Brevin Knight. They talked about a couple of times during the broadcast. If you don't have an actual big, like Taj Gibson only played 9 minutes in the game, if you don't have an actual big that's out there consistently, why play like you do? And again, Coach Isolo hasn't really played that way in a long time. But they were able to, whether it was tired legs for Denver or just fresh legs for Memphis, a combination of the two, the game plan was executed effectively. The Grizzlies got out in transition. They ran. They didn't give Denver a chance to set up their defense or offense on a consistent basis in a way that they could take advantage of the Grizzlies not having a true big on the court. And it was reflected in Memphis being competitive in this contest. So kudos to Taylor Hendricks and his defensive energy. Kudos to the offensive firepower that is Ty Jerome. Kudos to 5 Grizzlies starters all scoring in double digits. We haven't been able to say that consistently for this Memphis team over the span of this losing skid. The offense hasn't always been there. It was there for the Grizzlies in this one. And then you had Cam Spencer and Javon Small, both scoring 8 points in their own right. The previously mentioned Taylor Hendricks scored 13 points. It was on 18 shots. Not the most efficient outing, but he still got up into double digits. You had a strong showing from OMP, Olivier Maxence Prosper, another one of the quote-unquote bigs for the Grizzlies right now. An efficient 19 points on 9 shots. You had Jalen Wells tacking the glass, not 5 boards. Gigi Jackson, 6 boards. Cedric Coward, 7 boards. Ty Jerome, 9 boards, leading the team in rebounding from the point guard position. This was a team effort. And it was an effort that the Grizzlies desperately needed and the city desperately needed. And we'll talk more about the city here in a minute later on in the show. But the Grizzlies needed it. Because, again, it is easy for me, it is easy for you to sit around and think about lottery balls, ping pong balls bouncing around, and opportunities for drafting top prospects that are about to shine in the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about that towards the end of the show, a viewing guide, so to speak, what I'm looking for in the tournament. All that's all well and good. These guys are grinding day in and day out, trying to continue to ply their trade, get better at their craft that is the game of basketball. These coaches are trying to implement game plans. It's good to see it work, man. It's okay to be happy for a group of guys that hasn't quit. They compete. They don't just lie down. There's going to be more nights than not that they don't have what it takes to win. But on Wednesday, they had what it took to win against one of the better teams in the NBA. For whatever reason you want to put in terms of context, you can bring that poor travel back into the fold if you want, but it doesn't change the fact that for one glorious night, the Memphis Grizzlies were better than the Denver Nuggets. Denver's going to play in the postseason. Denver's an NBA championship contender. The Grizzlies are not. But on the court in FedEx Forum on Wednesday, the Grizzlies won and Denver lost. And that is going to be something I'm going to continue to enjoy, at least for the foreseeable future. I don't know about you. Hit me up on X at Joe Mullinax. Let me know in the comments. How are you feeling? Grizzlies, big win. I was high on Taylor Hendricks and his defense, Ty Jerome and his offense. Who were you impressed by? Let me know in the comments. Hit me up on X. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, I am going to rant for a little bit about people trying to move the Grizzlies out of Memphis. So it's not going to happen. Forgive me, if you will. If you like Joe Mullinax rants, I've got a good one coming. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by Wayfair. Spring is the perfect time to refresh your space and make your home better for you, whether it's updating a room, adding some outdoor furniture, or finally organizing that cluttered corner. It's a great chance to bring a fresh look into your home. That's where Wayfair comes in. From furniture and decor to organization, solutions, and outdoor essentials, Wayfair makes it easy to find pieces that match your style and your budget. I love shopping on Wayfair because of how simple the process is. You can filter by size, style, price, and you find exactly what works for you and your space, and options like easy assembly or installation make the whole experience smooth from order to setup. Whether it's a new desk to a home office, some storage solutions, or outdoor pieces for the spring, it is easy to find something that fits both your style and your daily routine. Find furniture, decor, and essentials that fit your unique style and budget. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Friendly reminder about the Everydayer Club. Join the Everydayer Club now with code MARCH. Get your first month free if you sign up before the NCAA Tournament tips off Thursday around 12 noon Eastern. That's 11 Central Time. You can compete against me. I'm going to complete my bracket before the games open up in our men's and women's bracket pools on Discord. The winner in each will get $100 in bonus and Locked On merch. The rest of us can commiserate in the members-only chats if our brackets blow up. And as a member of the club, of course, you get ad-free versions of this show, Locked On Grizzlies. Again, it's all free for a month with code MARCH at lockedongrizzlies.supercast.com. That's lockedongrizzlies.supercast.com, code MARCH. Draymond Green, on his stupid podcast, talked about the need for Memphis to lose the Grizzlies and the Grizzlies to move to Nashville. Marcus Smart recently on another podcast talked about how Memphis had ugly women, which I disagree with, having lived in Memphis for several years, but I digress. David Adelman, the recently lost to the Grizzlies head coach of the Denver Nuggets, talked about how much he loves Denver. Not just Denver, how much he loves Nashville, or how Nashville's a nice city. Stephen A. Smith argued for Nashville instead of Seattle getting a franchise. It seems like over the last several days, there has been an increased energy, for whatever reason, around this idea of Nashville getting an NBA team. And if Nashville were to get an NBA team, it stands to reason that Memphis would lose theirs, right? Because Tennessee as a state is not going to have two NBA franchises. So whether it's David Adelman or Draymond Green or Stephen A. Smith or Marcus Smart, whatever the case might be, there's an energy right now outside of the city. Somewhere, someone is talking about this idea of the relocation expansion. We talked about this to Michael and I on a recent episode of the show, how this could result somehow in Memphis losing the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, I want to stress, that's not going to happen, right? DeMichael has reported on this recently as last week. Jeff Calkins, Drew Hill, Chris Harrington of the Daily Memphian, multiple sources, Commercial Appeal, the Daily Memphian, lots of ink, proverbial ink, lots of internet typing has been done with actual reporting that has been done locally and actual sources going on the record, actual negotiations taking place, actual money being invested. The Grizzlies are not leaving Memphis almost certainly ever, but certainly not anytime soon. And yet, this still comes up every once in a while because Memphis doesn't have the nicest hotels, or Draymond Green complained about the lack of saunas and hot and cold tubs, which is kind of weird. Saunas are overrated. Can we all agree on that? There's very little in 2026 we can agree on. I don't want to just go and sweat for fun. Who does that? Who says, you know what, I'm going to go sit in a room for 30 minutes and feel like I'm being boiled like a crab. That's a really enjoyable time for me. I don't get it. But apparently Draymond Green's super into that. It's a deal breaker for him. Friendly reminder, Draymond Green was very close to coming to Memphis in free agency. Must not have been that big of a deal breaker. Podcast content, perhaps. But I do want to take this opportunity on the podcast that I share with my good buddy, DeMichael Cole, and defend Memphis. Not that Memphis needs me to defend it. It certainly can defend itself, and it has saved me numerous times on numerous occasions. So Memphis can hold its own. But as somebody that lived in the city for 3 years, as somebody who enjoys his visits back as recently as last year, when I got a chance to meet DeMichael and go to the Tony Allen retirement game and the Jersey retirement game and all the amazing things that go on in and around that city, I just want to say, leave the Grizzlies alone, right? The NBA can expand, adding 2 teams. Minnesota can go to the Eastern Conference because you argue it makes more sense. Memphis can stay in the West. The Grizzlies are a beacon of light in the city of Memphis. And no, I'm not going to say they're solving world troubles like poverty or racism. Racism doesn't end because the Grizzlies win a basketball game or a playoff series. There are legitimate problems in the city of Memphis that if you actually live in and around the city of Memphis, you are well aware of. But if you have lived in and around the city of Memphis, you are also aware of the unquestioned soul and energy that comes from that place. I have had an opportunity to live in several different cities in the span of my life. I have never lived somewhere with the unique spirit, the unconquered sense of love and self-awareness, the connection organically that a professional franchise like the Grizzlies has established with that city. Memphis is unlike anywhere else I've ever been. And as much as I enjoy covering the Grizzlies and being a de facto pseudo in 2026 partial media member, as much as I like the game of basketball, as I get older, you know, when I went to Memphis, I had a girlfriend who's now my wife. I went to Memphis for her. And as my life left Memphis and came back to Virginia, and as we had children, and as our children get older, I haven't left behind Memphis. Memphis is still very much with me. It's a major reason why I'm talking to you right now. Not because of the Grizzlies per se, but because of the Memphis Grizzlies. And the first word being in that name is Memphis. So it is a city that has its flaws. Do I wish it had a nicer hotel or two? Yeah. Would it be cool to have a downtown that was more supportive of dreams like an all-star game, or what it would look like if Memphis ever did host an NBA Finals? Yeah. But I remember when they hosted a Western Conference Finals game or two, I was there. And I remember when that FedEx Forum, all 18,119 seats were filled. I know that number because I would cover the team and they would pass around notes that said sellout with that number on them. 18,119, I'll never forget it. I've seen that building rocking. I know what it looks like full. I am very aware of the amazing energy that goes through that place when that team is competitive. And that's just the Grizzlies. You have plenty of folks in that city that will argue that when the Memphis Tigers are cooking, it's just as good, if not better. So Memphis is a phenomenal place that is more than deserving of this NBA franchise that they have. Leave them alone. Go find your own NBA team. Or if you're a part of an NBA team and you're weirdly into saunas and hot and cold tubs, they have these things called trash cans now. I don't know if you know this, Draymond, but you can take like bags of ice. Cost maybe like $20, get 5 or 6. You could probably afford that on your NBA salary. You pour the ice into the can, and then you get a hose, right? Like a water hose. It's like a garden hose. And you spray the water in there, and don't fill it up all the way because it'll there's this displacement stuff. But anyway, you put yourself in the trash can, and it's just as good as a cold tub. That's being a problem solver instead of an instigator. See what I did there, Draymond Green? You're welcome. Hit me up on X at Joe Mullinax. Let me know in the comments. I'm guessing here on Locked On Grizzlies, not many folks are going to disagree with me. Leave the Grizzlies alone. Let's get through this tank. Let's get through these next few months, and let's get back to the business of winning the way that the Memphis Grizzlies have been accustomed to do in the past. When we come back here on Locked On Grizzlies, closing out this edition of the show, talking about previewing the NCAA tournament from a Memphis Grizzlies perspective, who to keep an eye on, or at least who I have my eye on. Stick around. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you actually like and feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. Sure, you want someone who's in network, nearby, has availability, but you also want a doctor who listens and makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly. That kind of doctor does exist, and finding them's easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments for more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care to dentistry and dermatology and eye care. I've put off doctor appointments longer than I should. Between work, life, and everything else, it's easy to delay, but ZocDoc makes the process simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. Stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Today's episode of Locked On Grizzlies is also brought to you by the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready, and I have got my number one pick for the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. It is cotton candy, a delicious swirl of sugary clouds, a fruity twist with a hint of vanilla. It is the sweet side of tasty caffeine. I like the fact that it's a throwback flavor with a nice boost. It gives you that nostalgic little carnival energy, little style taste for you that's light and airy with a great candy profile. It is pure sweetness from start to finish that'll satisfy your sweet tooth. 5-Hour Energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar, and 5-Hour Energy has a lot of upcoming flavor innovations planned, not just cotton candy based. I'm telling you, I'm holding out hope for my Memphis barbecue sauce flavor. I'd love to see that made. Maybe 5-Hour Energy, if you're listening, you can send me a sample and I'll let you know how you did. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots available online on 5hourenergy.com or over on Amazon. Go and check out 5-Hour Energy today. Closing out this edition of Locked On Grizzlies, it is I, Joe Mullinax. Happy to be here with you after a Grizzlies victory. We haven't been able to say that in a while. And, they're supposed to be tanking, Joe's supposed to be losing. I know. Okay, I know. I'm on edge a little bit, okay? People are trying to move the team out of the city. People are not being very kind. So, I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to bask in the glow. I'm going to take in that fresh breathing air. And I just want you to let me have this, okay? And also let me have the fact that the NCAA tournament is officially beginning on Thursday. Very exciting. And here are some players that I am keeping an eye on as the tournament gets underway. My number one pick is going to be Cameron Boozer from Duke, a winner, point blank period. And that's going to be put to the test as the Dukies have that number one seed. Are they going to be capable of holding serve and getting to the Final Four, returning to that biggest stage that college basketball has to offer. They certainly are talented. They certainly have great coaching. They have everything at their disposal to make a deep tournament run. Cam Boozer, this idea of him as a next generation Tim Duncan, all he does is win. He may not be the flashiest talent, but he is a winner. Can that sustain on the biggest stage of college basketball? If it can, maybe Cam Boozer solidifies himself as the number one pick in this draft. But again, as a Grizzlies fan, maybe you want him to not quite be that good. You want a Darren Peterson, you want an AJ Dybantz to do well enough in the tournament themselves. Obviously, both Kansas and BYU also qualified. If they have a strong run, they're a little bit more flashy, a little bit more attractive position in terms of being on the wing or on the perimeter as a combo guard in the case of Peterson. Maybe that allows for Boozer to fall a little bit to number 3, number 4. Maybe the Grizzlies can snag Boozer even if they don't fully win the NBA lottery. Other guys to keep an eye on. Again, we're going to really kind of prioritize the top end pick for Memphis going into the draft. All these different guards that we've talked about. Mikal Brown Jr. not going to play in this tournament for Louisville. So maybe that's somebody that's now out of the mix for the Grizzlies. But you will see Kingston Flemings of Houston. You will see Darius Acuff of Arkansas. You'll see Keaton Wagler of Illinois. And Wagler is more of a true shooting guard, right? So if you want a point guard, if you have the point guard persuasion, it is certainly more Acuff versus Flemings at this stage of the game. What's your flavor? Right, we were talking about 5-hour energy flavors a moment ago. Do you like a two-way kind of point guard situation? That would be Kingston Flemings of Houston for sure. He does not have that defensive hole in his game. He's not as explosive offensively as an Acuff is, but he also does not have the weakness defensively that Acuff may very well have. And while the ceiling of Acuff on the offensive end is so much higher than that of Flemings, it's very possible that Darius Acuff is the best offensive player, offensive prospect in the entire draft, and that's including Dybantz, that's including Peterson. Acuff has been that impressive in his college basketball season at Arkansas. He looks really bad defensively. You can make an argument he's the worst defensive prospect in the draft. Now, as we talked about on a recent episode, the Grizzlies are uniquely, potentially positioned to hold on to and withstand having a point guard that isn't the best defender because of Cedric Coward, Jalen Wells being in the fold, the idea of John Morant and Ty Jerome being a part of the original plan for this Grizzlies team a year or so ago, or 9 months or so ago, however long, it feels like a year at least. Maybe Acuff makes sense as a plan B in that space. So Acuff versus Flemings, that's going to be something else I keep an eye on. And then the last one is our Vol for Life, my fellow Manassas, Virginia native, Nate Ament of Tennessee. He turned his season around in the second half of the season. He looked like he might be someone that would be better off staying in college another year, to be honest with you, after the way the first half of the college basketball season went. But he has been much better in recent games for the Tennessee Volunteers. Obviously, Tennessee has a tough road to hoe. They are going to be in the mix against teams in that 6'11" range. Are the Tennessee Volunteers going to be able to stand toe-to-toe with the likes of Miami, Ohio, who just won a big game over SMU? That's going to be something to keep an eye on, right? That's going to be a fascinating game. That Miami, Ohio team that's only lost one game all season. Now, can Nate Ament kind of push off that Cinderella story and be the dominant player? Miami, Ohio has nobody capable of doing the things that Nate Ament is capable of doing. Can he dominate that matchup? Can he show that growth as a player? Can he be that lottery potential guy that if Memphis is picking at 7, 8, or 9, they don't get up in the lottery? Will Grizzlies fans be happy with a Nate Ament? It's very common to fall a little too hard for prospects this time of year, just based off of 1 or 2 game performances in the NCAA tournament. The larger sample size is, of course, more important than any 1 or 2 games. But there is no denying that this is the biggest sporting event over a span of several days in the entire country. The eyes of the United States and, on a smaller scale, the world are going to be on a lot of these guys. How do they react to the pressure? How do they compete at the highest level that their sport has to offer? These are valuable opportunities. Hopefully you're able to watch some basketball, not just Grizzlies basketball, but college basketball over the next couple of days. Happy March Madness to one and all. Thanks so much for being with me on this edition of Locked On Grizzlies. It is much appreciated. The next time we're together, it will be Friday. You know, we got to get down on Friday. DeMichael Cole and I will talk Grizzlies basketball once more. The Grizzlies welcome the Boston Celtics to Memphis on Friday night. We'll preview that game and so much more. Make sure you're hanging out with us here on Locked On Grizzlies. Make sure that you are liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. Get the latest episodes each and every time an episode drops. Make sure you're following me on X at Joe Mullinax. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Grizzlies ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and so much more. Head to lockedongrizzlies.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel on audio. Make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. Thank you so much for being with me on this podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you're back with us to close out the week tomorrow. Until then, I'm Joe Mullinax. Stay locked in wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, YouTube. Make sure you're liking, commenting, rating, reviewing, subscribing. Until next time, see you.